What makes a game so perfect? Is it the gameplay, engaging story, or stunning graphics? Today, I'll be counting down my top 10 out of 10 games of all time. Let's begin. Kicking off at number 10 is Hogwarts Legacy. In Hogwarts Legacy, you play as a 5th-year student at Hogwarts, attending classes, learning spells, and uncovering a secret ancient magic plot. The gameplay is a blast. You're casting spells in combat, brewing potions, flying on your broomstick over the castle, and even caring for magical beasts. The open world design let me wander not just Hogwarts Castle, which is incredibly detailed, but also Hogsmeade Village and the Forbidden Forest. And let me tell you, the graphics are gorgeous, from the moving paintings on the walls to the swooping willow by the lake. As a longtime Potterhead, I was grinning ear to ear the entire time I played. I basically lived my best wizard life. I got sorted into my house, learned how to duel, and even petted every cat I found on school grounds. I remember spending an absurd amount of time just flying around on my broom and just enjoying the scenery. While the main story about ancient magic isn't as emotionally deep as some of the other games on this list, it was still really fun and kept me engaged. If you're a fan of the wizarding world, this game is pure wish fulfillment.
You're the little sod that's safe.
You think you're safe? You'll pay for that!
At number 9, we have A Plague Tale Innocence and A Plague Tale Requiem. I'm actually combining these two because they tell one continuous, incredible story. Set in the 14th century France during the Black Plague, Innocence introduces us to Amicia and her little brother Hugo, who are on the run from the Inquisition. Oh, and did I mention the literal swarms of plague rats ready to devour anyone in their path? The gameplay is tense and unique. It's mostly stealth and puzzles, where you use fire and light to keep the killer rats at bay and sneak past soldiers. The story in Innocence hooked me from the start. It's all about Amicia and Hugo's bond as siblings and how far you'd go to protect someone you love. It's equal parts harrowing and heartwarming. By the time I reached A Plague Tale Requiem, the stakes were even higher. Requiem expanded the gameplay with bigger areas and more abilities for Amicia, including a deadly crossbow, and yes, even more rats. The graphics and atmosphere in both games are top-notch too. These games left a huge impression on me. I grew so attached to Amicia and Hugo that I was not emotionally prepared for some of the gut-punch moments these games delivered.
Now, we must leave.
So here's the famous girl with the sling. But it seems you're pretty versatile when it comes to killing my men.
Let's go! Now!
Number 8 on my list is a double feature, Marvel's Spider-Man, the Remastered Edition, and Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm grouping these together because both gave me that ultimate Spider-Man experience. And let me tell you, these games made me feel like a superhero. In Marvel's Spider-Man, you play as Peter Parker, balancing life as a young New Yorker and as the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The gameplay is ridiculously fun. The web-swinging traversal is so smooth and satisfying that I sometimes ignored missions just to leap off skyscrapers and swing through Manhattan at breakneck speeds. Combat is fast and fluid too, with slick combos and gadgets to take down bad guys. The story in Spider-Man surprised me with how engaging it was. It's an original story that features many iconic characters from the comics. You have Peter juggling his relationship with MJ, mentoring Miles, and facing off against a sinister threat. On the technical side, the remastered version for PS5 and PC looked stunning. The city comes to life with detailed visuals, and the characters' facial animations, especially in cutscenes, are super realistic. Miles Morales takes that same formula and gives it a fresh spin. It's a standalone shorter game where you play as Miles Morales, stepping into his own as Brooklyn's new Spider-Man while Peter's away. Miles has his own flair, venom powers, and cloaking, which add cool twists to gameplay. His story is more personal and localized to Harlem, and it's set during a snowy Christmas season, which made the city feel completely different and cozy. By the end, I was fully invested in Miles as a hero, not just the other Spider-Man. As a huge Spidey fan, both of these games were a dream come true. I grew up reading Spider-Man comics and watching the cartoons, so getting to play these stories was pure joy. Number 7 is Marvel's Spider-Man 2, the latest adventure of our favorite webheads. If the previous Spider-Man games were great, this one swung even higher. This time, you get to play as both Peter Parker and Miles Morales in one game, and the developers nailed it. You can seamlessly switch between Peter and Miles in the open world, which now isn't just Manhattan, they opened up Queens and Brooklyn too. The gameplay in Spider-Man 2 is the best it's ever been. Peter and Miles each have unique skill trees and abilities. Peter gets those insane symbiote powers, and Miles has evolved his bioelectric venom powers and new tricks of his own. Swinging also got an upgrade with the new web wings letting you glide on the wind tunnels across the city. Plus, they added little details that made the world feel even more alive, like dynamic crimes and friendly neighborhood side quests that flesh out the community. The story in Spider-Man 2 had me hooked from start to finish. It introduces one of Spidey's most famous adversaries, Venom, and the way the game handles the symbiote storyline had me on the edge of my seat. There are high stakes, big twists, and some deeply emotional moments between the characters, and can I just applaud the graphics and presentation? From the detailed character models to the set-piece moments where buildings are collapsing and lightning is flashing, this game was a visual treat. It's a must-play for any action-adventure fan, even if you're not a hardcore Spidey nerd like me.
Stay inside, everyone! I won't let anything happen to you!
Number 6 is Ghost of Tsushima, the game that basically let me live out my samurai movie fantasies. You play as Jin Sakai, a samurai trying to save Tsushima Island from a Mongol invasion in 1274. The twist is that Jin has to choose between the honorable samurai code and the stealthy, ruthless methods needed to defeat the Mongols, essentially becoming the Ghost. Beyond the story, Ghost of Tsushima is hands down one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. The island is rendered with such artistic flair, golden forests, fields of red spider lilies, snowy mountain shrines, serene bamboo groves. The game basically begs you to use its photo mode. Gameplay-wise, Ghost of Tsushima is chef's kiss fantastic. The sword combat is smooth, responsive, and incredibly satisfying. Every duel feels intense and cinematic, especially with the game's gorgeous camera work. You can challenge enemies to standoff showdowns, where one well-timed strike can take an enemy out in one slash. Or if you prefer the shadows, you can sneak around assassinating enemies using your bow, throwing kunai, and causing distractions. The attention to detail, like the way the wind guides you to objectives or how foxes lead you to hidden shrines, makes exploration feel magical. It's the kind of game where you get completely lost in its world, and I loved every minute of being Jin Sakai, whether I was writing a haiku by a peaceful pond or clashing swords with Mongol warlords. Number 5 is The Last of Us Part 2. Few games have ever left me as speechless as this one did. Set a few years after the first game, Part 2 follows Ellie on a journey of revenge through a haunting, post-apocalyptic Seattle. It explores the dark side of vengeance and the cycle of violence in a way that had me really pondering things. Part 2 is a masterclass in stealth action. Ellie is quick and resourceful, and you get to sneak through ruined buildings, tall grass, and crumbling city streets, picking off enemies, both human and infected, one by one. There are also some truly terrifying encounters with new types of infected, like the Shamblers, that had my heart racing. The graphics and attention to detail are phenomenal. Every area is densely detailed with overgrown vegetation, derelict buildings, and little story clues about the world. And the characters feel so real. The facial expressions, the voice acting, everything is top-notch, possibly the best I've seen in a game. Number 4 is The Last of Us Part 1. This is the game that proved to me, and a lot of people, that video games can hit as hard as the best movies or TV shows. It's no wonder it got turned into an HBO series. In The Last of Us, you play as Joel, a hardened survivor in a world ravaged by a fungal zombie apocalypse. He ends up on a journey escorting a teenage girl, Ellie, across the country because she might just be the key to a cure. This game's story is all about the bond that forms between Joel and Ellie as they struggle to survive. By the end of the game, I was 100% attached to these characters like they were real people. But it's not just the story, the gameplay in The Last of Us is also tense and engaging. It's a mix of survival, stealth, and action. You're scavenging for limited ammo and supplies, crafting makeshift weapons, and carefully sneaking past clickers. Every encounter feels life or death. The graphics and atmosphere look amazing, with overgrown cities and haunting landscapes. The part I remake on PS5 made it look even better, so the experience holds up perfectly. In my book, it's a perfect 10 out of 10 and an all-time great. Number 3 on my list is God of War 2018. This game was a huge surprise for me. I was a fan of the classic God of War games on the PS2 and PS3. You know, the ones where Kratos was basically a raging ball of anger ripping apart Greek gods. Those were fun, but this God of War is on a whole different level. Santa Monica Studio took Kratos and dropped him into Norse mythology and made him a dad. And somehow, it turned out to be one of the most epic and heartfelt games ever. In this soft reboot, Kratos has left Greece behind and now lives in the Norse realm of Midgard. He has a young son, Atreus, and the story begins with them on a journey to fulfill a very personal quest, carrying out Atreus' mother's last wish. The gameplay was a big change from the old games. It's over the shoulder, more grounded, but still brutal and satisfying. Kratos' new weapon, the Leviathan Axe, is probably my favorite weapon in any game ever. You can throw it and summon it back to your hand like Thor's hammer. Combat is deep and demands strategy. Plus, Atreus isn't just there to follow you around, he helps in combat with his bow, and has his own skills, making fights even more dynamic. The game also introduces memorable characters like Mimir, the talking head who becomes your travel companion and storyteller, and a very unique take on Baldur, Magni, Modi, and Freya from Norse myth. Not to mention the graphics and world design are jaw-dropping. From the peaks of snowy mountains down to the Lake of Nine, every location was beautiful and richly detailed. I played the original games in my teenage years for the cool action, but this one I played as an adult and it hit me on a deeper level. At number 2, we have God of War Ragnarok. This was easily one of my most anticipated games ever, and it did not disappoint. Ragnarok is the direct sequel and the grand finale to Kratos and Atreus' Norse saga. In this game, Fimbulwinter has begun, and Kratos and a now teenage Atreus are trying to prevent, or perhaps ensure, the coming of Ragnarok while dealing with some very angry Norse gods who aren't too happy about what happened in the last game. The story is epic, heartfelt, and full of surprises. We get to visit all 9 realms this time, each with its own breathtaking landscapes. Gameplay in God of War Ragnarok is top tier. Kratos gets some new tricks up his sleeve, including a spectacular new weapon. Atreus is older and even joins in the action more. The enemy variety is expanded, boss fights are more frequent, and the puzzles in the world are just the right amount of tricky. What really blew me away though was the storytelling. Ragnarok had me fully engaged in its narrative from start to finish. The relationship between Kratos and Atreus is tested in new ways as Atreus, aka Loki, tries to find his own path and understand his identity. The game also dives deeper into characters like Freya, who is grieving and furious after the events of the first game, and introduces new ones like Thor and Odin in a way we haven't seen before. On the presentation side, Ragnarok is a showstopper. The visuals are some of the best on PC and PS5. All in all, God of War Ragnarok was everything I hoped for and more. A game that delivered spectacle and heart in equal measure. Finally, at number 1 is Red Dead Redemption 2. Where do I even begin with this game? RDR2 isn't just a game, it's an experience, a journey, almost a second life that I lived in the Old West for a while. You play as Arthur Morgan, a gunslinger and member of the Van der Linde gang set in 1899 at the tail end of the Wild West era. The world of Red Dead Redemption 2 is a massive, living, open world spanning mountains, swamps, plains, and burgeoning towns. It is hands down one of the most immersive game worlds ever created. I'm talking dynamic weather, realistic wildlife, random events happening as you travel, and NPCs with schedules and personalities, and the level of detail is insane. Your horse's grooming, your beard length, the fact that your character commentates on the temperature and you have to dress appropriately, it's wild. The story is one of the best narratives in gaming, period. Arthur Morgan's character development throughout the game is incredibly well written. You start off thinking he's just a rugged outlaw, but as the story unfolds, you see layers of honor, doubt, loyalty, and reflection. By the end of RDR2, Arthur Morgan had become one of my all-time favorite characters in any book, movie, or game. This game reminded me of why I fell in love with gaming in the first place. It's a masterpiece through and through, and to me, it's as perfect as a game can get. A true 10 out of 10. Which games would you give a perfect 10 out of 10 rating? Let me know down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe and check out my other videos. Until next time, happy gaming.